In this video, we're going to look at how we can use the Prowler tool to conduct cloud security assessments. Prowler is an open source tool, and it's aimed specifically at assessing the security posture of AWS environments. It does this by going through a variety of checks based on best practices, compliance frameworks, and security standards, and gives you back an analysis of your overall AWS security configuration. Some of the key features of the Prowler tool include CIS benchmarks, multi-framework support, AWS security checks, and powerful reporting capabilities. Generally, we would use the Prowler tool when we're performing security audits on an AWS environment, but it can also be helpful when performing compliance audits on AWS environments for things like CIS or GDPR, and we can also use it for monitoring purposes to track changes and configurations in real time to help prevent security breaches. Prowler is a Python-based tool, so you'll need to make sure that your system has Python installed before you're able to run the Prowler tool. So on a system with Python installed, open up a terminal or PowerShell window and clone the Prowler repository. We can do that with the command git clone, followed by the URL to the repository, which is https://github.com/prowler-cloud/prowler.git. Once you've cloned the repository, we can change directory into the cloned repo using the command cd prowler. And now we're ready to start working with the tool. So we could check the version of Prowler that we have by running the command python3 prowler.py -v, and it tells us that we are using Prowler 4.5.0. We could also do python prowler.py -h, and this will give us the help output for the tool. So at the top, we can see a usage example for how we go about using the tool. Then we have the options that we could pass to the tool. Then we have the available cloud providers that the tool supports, in this case AWS, Azure, GCP, and Kubernetes. And here we can see that even though the tool is specifically designed for AWS, it does support other cloud providers for doing assessments. And then we have the dashboard component, and for each of these providers and components, we can get more detailed help about them by running Prowler, followed by the name of the provider or the component, and then -h. So let's see what happens if we do python3 prowler.py aws-h. And here we have a very long output of all the detailed information about the AWS component in Prowler. So once again, we have a usage example, followed by all the different options and flags that we could pass to the command. If we scroll down, we can see more detailed options, along with descriptions about what those options are for. And we can perform the same action for all of the components and dashboards listed. So let's try running a scan on my AWS environment. To do that, I'm just going to run the tool with no flags. So I type in python3 prowler.py. And now the tool is running its checks and scans on my AWS profile. So we'll get an output result telling us the security assessment or my overall security posture in my AWS account. And this scan can take quite a long time. When configuring your parameters for the scan, you will need to run AWS configure in your terminal beforehand using the credentials for the actual environment that you want to scan. In this way, Prowler will automatically pick up the AWS credentials that you put in the AWS configure command and scan using those. So in this case, I've previously put in my credentials using AWS configure, and that's what Prowler is scanning now. And upon completion of the scan, we can see our results in the terminal. We can see at the bottom that there have been detailed compliance results output for us at the following location, and then scrolling up through the output, we can see all of the various statuses and their results. So if we pick one here at the bottom, for example, compliance status of SOC 2_AWS framework, we can see we have 20.33%, 73 fail, 5.29% or 19 checks pass, and 0 checks are muted. And we can scroll up through the results of all the other compliance checks as well. Then at the top, we have the results of our security scan. And in the overview results, we can see that 193 checks failed, 162 checks passed, and 0 checks were muted. And then we have the detailed scan results in a table for us, telling us the provider that was scanned, the service that was scanned, the status of that service, along with the severity of the scan result. So this is how we can use the Prowler tool to perform security audits and security assessments on our cloud environments. This can be a very useful tool when performing penetration testing on something like an AWS environment.